Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you again for joining us today on our virtual webinar. Our next company is Intrepid Metals, a Canadian company focused on exploring for high-grade essential metals such as copper, silver, and zinc in proximity to established mining camps in southeastern Arizona, U.S. The company has acquired several drill-ready projects and assembled an exceptional team with considerable experience with exploration, development, and permitting new projects within North America. And now I want to introduce you to Intrepid CEO, Ken Brophy. Welcome, Ken, and over to you.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm assuming everything's working okay from a video standpoint?
We can see you.
Perfect. All right. So thank you, Caroline, and a quick thank you to the full IR Labs team for really organizing this event. I'm very pleased to be here today with so many other remarkable companies, and certainly look forward to meeting with a lot of you people in person during the Vancouver event. So can you just go to the next slide if you don't mind, Caroline? Yeah. So to set the stage, Intrepid is a relatively new company that has acquired 3 exciting all drill-ready projects in just the last 18 months. While the junior mining market, for those that follow it, has struggled for new capital over the past couple of years, we've taken the approach of being very disciplined with our shareholders' capital and tried to focus on acquisitions of key projects that we feel can generate substantial returns for all of our shareholders. From a commodity standpoint, sorry, my phone's ringing. I should have turned that off, sorry. From a commodity standpoint, we remain very bullish on copper and see a strong demand in the years ahead and really limited new supply coming online. The strong demand will be driven by the clean energy transition, and we feel that's going to be very favorable for certainly the commodity prices and the companies themselves that are focused on the essential metals required for the energy transition. So maybe next slide, please. So I'd first like to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about our latest news that just came out this week as it relates to our Corral Copper project. So a little quick backstory. We named this project the Corral Copper project primarily based on our business plan to corral all that fragmented land ownership that's in an area with a rich history of mining. I think a key reason this area hasn't been developed already is based on the fragmented land ownership that was in place, which has really prohibited a systematic approach to exploration of this real district scale opportunity. This is truly a unique opportunity. Is not only have we consolidated the land, we also now have 50,000 meters of drilling data that's going to help us direct drills and will enable us to quickly move towards a beachhead resource. Unfortunately, none of the drill core remains, and this is based on some of the historical feuding of different landowners, but that's all been taken care of. So, this project has to be drilled in order for us to create a resource. But unlike many other projects, we know we'll have a very high success rate when it comes to drilling based on the historical data. It's going to be a whole lot easier for us to plan and execute successful drill programs when we have a lot of that historical data at our disposal. I'll just jump to the next slide, please. So here we're showing the location of all 3 of our projects, and there's a few key points that I'd like to make while people are looking at this map. First and foremost are the green areas, which are national forests. These are no-go zones for us, as well there may be some great geology within these areas, and permitting can happen. It can take a very long time and add several layers of complexity and sometimes even legal court proceedings to get a simple exploration project or approval. The light brown areas are the indigenous lands, and again, we wish to respectfully avoid these areas. We want to ensure that the projects that we spend our shareholders' capital on can be developed responsibly and avoid areas that can run into substantial delays or opposition. It's one of the many reasons why we like Cochise County, which is home to both our Corral Copper as well as our Tombstone South project. You can see some of the other mining sites and historical sites kind of within that same county. The famous Tombstone district, which produced over 30 million ounces of silver in its day. Our Tombstone South project is just south of that area. Um, then we have the Bisbee mining district, which produced over 8 billion pounds of copper with grades up to 23%. While not to draw a direct comparison at this stage, but the geology and the mineralization style that we see at Corral is more closely aligned with that Bisbee model than some of the other Arizona-based projects. We then have the Johnson Camp and Gunnison project, also in Cochise County, and it's important to note that Gunnison, its copper project got their mine approval only a few years back and did so in only 2.5 years. So mining projects can get built in Arizona. But it's important to point out that our chairman, Mark Morabito, was the chairman of Excelsior at that time as well. So we know firsthand that mines can get approved in the county. And we're fortunate to have the resources with the experience in doing just that. It's also important to point out, and I heard the previous speaker talk about the importance of infrastructure. We have all the key infrastructure close by as well in Cochise County, which is another key reason why we focused our efforts in this area. Our third project, our Mesa Well project, while it's not located in Cochise County, Graham County also has a rich history of mining. Our project falls within the bottom, what's known as the Copper Triangle, which is home to all of the major mining companies at the end of the day. This area is really known for giant copper mines and discoveries, and we feel fortunate to have the right geology, and we're certainly in the right area code for another new discovery. Next slide, please. So as I touched on earlier, we are a relatively new company and believe our favorable capital structure really shows this. We have a very large insider ownership, and based on the recent uptick in share price, we're now over the $10 million market cap. Crescat is our largest single shareholder, and they remain committed to our success. They've been very supportive as we've focused our efforts on additional acquisitions and really building out our Corral Copper project. So they've been very supportive, and we look forward to continuing to work with them as we kind of move the projects forward. Next slide. So what's next? It's really time to start creating shareholder value from the drill bit. Our focus will shift from the boardroom to the battlefield as we look to execute successful drill programs at both Corral Copper and Tombstone South. We'll likely do a little more groundwork on Mesa Well before drilling to increase the likelihood of success from the first few holes, as prospecting with a drill is not something we feel is a good use of hard-earned shareholder capital. That's the reasons why we really like Corral Copper and Tombstone South, is we have significant drill targets already identified. I guess to wrap things up, we certainly see it being a busy couple of years, and we feel the timing is about right for a new exciting story in a favorable mining jurisdiction, just as a commodity super cycle is about to begin. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Ken. That was great. Great overview on Intrepid Metals and all of your projects. Just a reminder for everybody who would like to ask a question, please type it in the Q&A box. All right, so the first question we have, why is Arizona considered as one of the best states in the mining industry?
Why is Arizona? I believe it's well, and I saw a trivia question before. It's the largest copper mining state, but also one of the largest mining states. They have a very favorable regulatory process. Once again, if you stay out of some of those no-go zones, they have a lot of the key kind of infrastructure, which I think is also really important. So, many people look to ensure they can get a quick return on capital when it comes to building these projects. So it's important to be in a jurisdiction that has a history of that. Arizona, while it can get quite hot in the summer, you can work year round. So from an exploration standpoint, we focused on Arizona for a lot of reasons, but one is more of our investor dollars can go straight into the ground. We're not having to spend money on logistics and flying drill rigs and staff all across remote areas. We have power, we have roads. So there's certainly some of the reasons why I like working in the state of Arizona.
Thanks, Ken. Yes, and I remember when we went to see the properties. It's definitely true with the nice weather, and it is such a rich mining jurisdiction with all the other established mining camps around it. You have an incredible board and management team. Can you talk a little bit about them? And you have Mark, you have Colleen, Rebecca on your board, and you've got a great technical team as well, like Chris. So yeah, maybe talk a little bit about your board and management team.
Yeah, listen, we're very, very fortunate to have the team that we do. Once again, as a new company, we're very fortunate to be able to build it out the way that we did. And I should note, we still remain open to adding other people in key areas as we continue to move forward. We've tried to keep the management team relatively lean as a way to conserve some of our shareholders' capital. But I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by some great technical advisors that has really helped, shape the company by identifying some of these projects. At the board level, certainly Mark Morabito, I can't say enough about Mark, as chairman of Excelsior, and taking that project all of the way through the permitting process. He's raised, 100 plus millions of dollars in the capital market. He's very, very easy to work with, and I certainly heed his advice whenever I can. We recently added Colleen Roach, who I've known for many years. She's a strong female engineer. She's been part of the mining industry for many years. I heard some of the earlier discussion, and I think it's bang on. Women have come so far in the industry, and I'm very supportive of it. So we're very fortunate to have Colleen part of it. She has a history of working at a mine in Arizona, a lot around water management. So these are some of the areas that we leverage from her as well. From the technical side, and I encourage people to check out our website as well as our full corporate presentation, and it has a little bit more detail on each one. But the one technical side, we have a couple of older folks and a couple of younger folks. So I often will kind of joke, we got many years of experience here, and we got the younger generation that can take it out of their mind and bring it into more modern modeling techniques. Rebecca, she led the permitting process for Excelsior, so having her as a resource is great as well.
Thank you, Ken. Yes, and I've met some of them, and they are excellent. You're very fortunate to have such a great team leading the company, including yourself. So talk about Coral Copper. I know it's such a unique opportunity. It's a district scale advanced exploration and development opportunity in Arizona. And recently you just completed the consolidation for that property. So talk about, some of the historical drilling results, because from what I understand, they have some really great results previously, and really how you've solved the issue before today. I know it was not easy back in the day to consolidate the properties, but looks like you've done that.
Yeah, thank you. It's taken longer than I originally thought, to be honest with you. But a lot of it came from just spending time. I've been fortunate to, sit in some people's backyards and learn about the area. Drinking iced tea and just trying to build a relationship and understanding a little bit more about the district. To your point, we just recently completed another transaction, and a company a number of years ago had a similar agenda as ours, and they were trying to kind of consolidate a 3 kilometer trend of known mineralization, but things went kind of sideways and some litigation happened. So it kind of, went sterile once again. And even some of the local landowners, their properties was kind of held up for a bit of time. So, we're very, very fortunate to now have it consolidated and we can look at this. And it's important to note that that 3 kilometer trend still only considers about, 20% of our overall property. So the area, mining dates back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and even again in the 1960s for a short period of time. But it's really important to point out that because of the early stage mining, it's all very shallow. Some of the drill holes, the maximum depths are only 300 meters. So from a shareholder capital standpoint, a lot of our exploration dollars are not going into kind of deep exploration holes. Grades, there's a number of historical intercepts that we're seeing 4% copper, even up to 9% copper in some holes. There's pretty impressive silver as well as gold numbers as well. So we're really excited to just get the drills turning. While it is historical data, but we have the assay logs and we have the drill logs. So we're really excited to get out there and start confirming a lot of the historical resources that we know are there.
Yeah, we're excited for that too. When you start drilling.
Yeah, sorry if I can. Yeah, we see, like, once we start drilling, the first number of drill programs, we're just gonna focus on a systematic and a drilling approach to just continue to get out all of those historical drill results, because we have to. We're not we're not just duplicating holes for the sake of duplicating holes where there's no core. These holes need to be drilled. So we know that we'll be able to create a lot of shareholder value just by being able to confirm a lot of the historical results.
That's definitely important. Thanks, Ken. You touched on Crescat Capital investing in Intrepid Metals. What are their motivations to invest in Intrepid Metals? I know they're quite a large group.
Uh, might be a difficult one for me to answer what their motivation to invest in us might be, but I do think, and it goes back to some of the team. Their lead technical advisor, Quentin Henning, he knows a couple of our key technical folks, both Chris Osterman and Matt Gray. So he knows that these guys are solid geologists, all three of them PhDs, so they're very, very smart. And they know that if those guys see value in the company and our assets, they can see value as well. And I'll go back to our market cap. We raised $3 million about 18 months ago, and we've been very diligent with that capital. We still have just around $1 million left now, and they see that we've got the right team, we're in the right area, and we're approaching things correctly to create shareholder value. So I think that should be what they see, and other investors as well outside of them see as a reason to be part of our story.
Thanks, Ken. I know you have the other two projects, Mesa Well and as well as the Tombstone South. So do you want to touch on those two projects as well?
Sure. So I'll start with Mesa Well. So, that project we acquired from EMX Royalties and Bronco Creek, and they're great project generators. It has a history of drilling to the south as the previous drilling was moving towards our now project. The mineralization and the alteration intensity was increasing. We have some target areas that we look forward to kind of drilling, but as I mentioned, I'd like to do a little bit more kind of groundwork before getting the drills going on it. But it's surrounded by giants. There's so many other mining active mines within that area, and we feel that we're certainly in the right area. Tombstone South, just south of the town of Tombstone, which we were at. It's really a unique opportunity. The geology there is similar to Tombstone in some ways, with some high silver grades, but it's more closely aligned with the Hermosa deposit or the Taylor discovery. South 32 bought it for $1.3 billion back in 2018. And we have this kind of larger layer of manganese, which is now a critical mineral in the US. So we see a lot of the silver in manganese within the upper strata, but none of the previous drilling that had some pretty interesting grades associated with it ever tested the contact of the limestone unit, which we know is below. And it's in that contact between the sediments and limestone units where these massive Taylor type of discoveries are typically found. So one of the first things we did was a large dipole IP survey when we acquired the project, which enabled us to see a little bit deeper. And while most geophysical programs, you'll be able to likely identify an anomaly of some sort, we're very fortunate where we identified a large chargeability anomaly, and it sits right in that contact. So we have all of the right signatures. We have a nearby porphyry, which kind of provides a heat source. We have that major fault that can provide that fluid flow. So we're really excited about that project as well.
Thank you so much, Ken. And this concludes our question and answer session. If you'd like to connect with Intrepid, with Ken, please reach out to one of us or reach out to on their website, the investor relations section, and we'll be happy to connect you. And make sure to add the ticker symbol INTR on the TSX Venture Exchange. Thank you so much, Ken, for joining us today. And that was great insight and overview of Intrepid Metals.
Yeah, no, thank you, Caroline. And once again, I certainly look forward to any of those watching today. Please feel free to reach out, and hope to see a lot of you in Vancouver and maybe other areas throughout the fall. We're looking forward to a really busy fall primarily, and hope to get in front of a lot of people and start getting our story out there. So thank you all for helping us do that today.
Thank you, Ken.